I was recently sitting on my front porch one evening when I heard my neighbor shriek in fear across the yard. She was pointing towards the grass where our neighborhood alley cat had just pounced on a large rabbit. The rabbit, still alive, was struggling in terror as the cat swung it around in its jaws, and we watched for a few nauseating moments as it slowly snuffed the rabbit's life out. It was sort of a jarring experience to witness. As a city boy in 2025, this is about as close as I get to seeing the cycle of predation and violence that animates much of the animal world. That's probably true for some of you as well. Thus, I'm guessing that you have never worked as a shepherd. You've never heard your sheep shriek and bleat in terror as a pack of wolves charges over a hillside. You've never gripped your staff, adrenaline pumping through your body, preparing to combat ravenous wolves, preparing to protect your flock. Me neither. This means that we need to practice some imagination to register what our texts are saying to us in their dominant metaphor this morning. Jesus is the good shepherd, protecting his sheep from predators. Think about how John's original audience would have heard that statement as people acquainted with the life and death struggles of real shepherds. I wonder if Jesus chose this metaphor because in our lives, the stakes are high and the danger is real. This is the fourth Sunday of Easter. I said third. Sue, I saw you trying to correct me. Thank you. This is the fourth Sunday of Easter, in fact. And in the previous Sunday's passages, they brought us stories that were chronologically happening after Jesus was raised from the dead. That makes sense. But now, we're still in the Easter season and the lectionary backtracks, and we are given a pre-resurrection story about the Good Shepherd in John chapter 10. Why is that? I wonder if the lectionary knows that only 4 weeks out from Easter, it might be getting hard to sustain Easter joy. I wonder if the text knows that in this world, the confidence that we felt in the resurrection just 28 days ago has begun to fade in the face of adversity. In that regard, I appreciate Jesus' realism in this passage. In John's 10th chapter, Jesus references the danger of his sheep being stolen or snatched away 6 times. I can't help but conclude that Jesus was trying to tell us this. If you are going to try to beat resurrection people in this world, there is a high likelihood of being eaten, of being devoured. People are being snatched away all around us. Our children and grandchildren's lives and futures are snatched away as leaders continue to extract oil from the ground for short-term profit and heat the earth and deny climate change. There are college students in America exercising First Amendment rights to free speech that are being snatched and held without clarity about their charges. In the last 2 years, my family has known 4 men who have died by suicide. We see loved ones snatched away by depression, despair, and mental health issues that steal our capacity for hope and agency. As I mentioned, I'm particularly concerned about young men that are being snatched away from us. Male-identified people, boys and men who experience legitimate suffering from things like poverty, but then who are lured into dark corners of the internet and radicalized. These young men are told that they are suffering because they just need to toughen up and hide their emotional vulnerability, pain, and sadness. They're told that they're suffering due to trans people existing and drag shows, due to feminism, instead of being told the truth, which is more accurate, about the economic inequality, or the automation of service jobs, or the lack of spaces for men to process emotions. These are the actual variables that are wreaking havoc on boys' well-being. So I see young men that I mentor up at the college being stolen away from flocks of intergenerational community and meaningful contribution to our society. Earlier in John chapter 10, Jesus says that those who steal his sheep have a mission: to kill, steal, and destroy. In this historical moment, it's not just people who are in danger of being snatched away. It's our joy. It's our willingness to resist. I wonder, what is under threat of being stolen from you today? So thank God that we have this Easter text that tells us the truth about how hard it's going to be sometimes. Thank God that we have the resurrection stories that are not naive about the context in which resurrection occurs. This resurrection comes smack dab in the middle of a world as it is, complete with its predators and thieves. Because of this realism, we must distinguish resurrection hope from mere optimism. Often we think of hope as a confidence that things will improve. We think of hope as optimism for a particular outcome. We think of hope as a feeling. If this is where we place our hope, in feeling good, in guaranteed happy endings, we will surely be disappointed. The resurrection of Jesus, in fact, disrupts our demands to feel good or to have answers about the future. That is not what Jesus promises. Jesus' resurrection hope is a power that enlivens us. It claims us. It acts through us beyond our meager optimism if we will say yes to it. Resurrection hope recruits us despite our desire to wallow in the pity of our circumstances. Yes, we can complain to God. Yes, we must feel our grief. But resurrection hope is offered to us as a life-giving force that is not defeated by the ongoing presence of pain. Resurrection hope can coexist with our pain. And yes, Jesus is the gentle shepherd, but he's also militant. He's also strong in the healthiest sense of those traits. And yes, some Christians have misused the image of a strong Jesus to justify domination, but we cannot afford to ignore the resource of Jesus' strength just because others have misused that image. As we face significant challenges, we find courage in remembering a Jesus who met evil with resolute resistance. I personally find it helpful right now to claim my Jesus as the Good Shepherd, who's a protector. Jesus who is not content to let God's children be snatched up by the greedy and the violent while he sits idly by. Because when we dare to imagine Jesus as resolute, refusing to cede joy to thieves, we hear that we too are called to this kind of courage. Says Jesus, "My sheep know my voice, and they follow me." To be Easter people means that we bring the love force of the resurrection into the public square. It means that we too find it unacceptable when God's children are snatched away. In the words of Pastor Luther Smith, commitment to our God-given sense of purpose must be as relentless as the pain that the world administers. Commitment to our God-given purpose must be relentless. And so I'm claiming God's resurrection power today, even in the face of pain. Even in the face of fear, we are not going to be turned around by climate change denialism. We are not going to be turned around by insufficient investments in mental health care and public schools. We are not going to be turned around by efforts to radicalize our young men against community. Not on my watch. I will not play the cynic. I will not let my hope be stolen. We work for the Good Shepherd. If the wolves come to kill and steal and destroy, conversely, Jesus tells us earlier in John chapter 10 why he came. He came to give life abundantly. He didn't come to give us security abundantly. He didn't come to give us possessions abundantly. He didn't come to give us comfort abundantly. He came to give us life. When we claim that Christ is risen, we're saying that no thing, no person, no system, no power can stop God's hope that lives inside of us. I am the Good Shepherd, and no one will snatch you from my hands. My sheep hear my voice, and they follow me. Amen.